Greetings and salutations. The Dapper Nerd here. Welcome back. Today's subject, Man of Steel, the plot. Based on information that's been released for public consumption across many venues, mostly trailers 2 and 3, I'm going to give you my idea of how the story is going to unfold in Man of Steel. If you're the type of person that doesn't even like a hint of a spoiler, then feel free to bow out right now. Like I said, I'm basing all of what I'm going to say on information that's already been released for public consumption. So in a certain sense, there's really no spoilers at all. There's really only a kind of amateurish detective work, if I happen to get anything right. So that said, here's how I think the movie's going to unfold, how the narrative, more specifically, is going to unfold. I think it's going to start off on planet Krypton. I think that's a no-brainer. There could be any number of ways that the opening is going to go. Traditionally, Krypton is in danger of being destroyed because its red sun is going supernova. That's how it played out in the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. In the Superman animated series, it's kind of the same, except Brainiac, the super AI that the Kryptonians created and then unfortunately came to rely upon too much, like a crutch, was basically developed his own consciousness and became very misleading and was giving the Kryptonian Science Council erroneous information, thus leading to their doom. And then he had, he being Brainiac, had collected all of the data of the history and culture of Krypton, all of its discoveries, all of its scientific data, all of its history, essentially everything that it was as a culture from its beginning until the point of its destruction, and basically uploaded it into his own system and then abandoned the planet for Earth. Actually, not a bad idea considering it was an animated cartoon. So there's that route that this Superman story has been told, that perspective. Then there's what I hear for this movie. I don't know if this is true, and I don't exactly remember where I read it or heard it, but basically that Kal-El is not only special on Earth, but he's also special on Krypton in the sense that Kryptonians, as the movie opens, they have long since not have to have been traditionally born into the world through the womb, but have kind of entered a phase of cloning or manufacturing or Lord knows what else. I don't know. But the idea is that actually being birthed into the world has long since gone away, has become an anachronism. Possibly not even biologically possible anymore because they may have evolved beyond that state. Hand-wavium. Don't think about that too much. But nevertheless, Kal-El is actually born on Krypton, birthed on Krypton. Not manufactured, not cloned, and this makes him special on Krypton as well. If that's true, if there's any truth to that, then this is deviating quite considerably from the original canon of Superman's origins. But nevertheless, it seems that Jor-El and General Zod are put at odds. General Zod and his minions have a bone to pick with Jor-El. It seems to have something to do with tracking down Kal-El and hurting him, or possibly bringing him back to Krypton. And so Jor-El sends young Kal-El off to Earth, and we know that Jor-El knows where he's sending his son this time, because he says to his wife, she says to him, they'll kill him, meaning they being the Earthlings will kill him, and Jor-El says, how can they? He'll be like a god to them, or he'll be a god to them, in terms of his strength and such. So, like in Smallville, this Jor-El in Man of Steel knows precisely where he's sending Kal-El. So I think that will be not exactly the first act, but the opening, kind of like the prologue. We're going to set up that Jor-El and General Zod are at odds. It's going to set up that General Zod is going to want to find Kal-El. And it's going to establish that Jor-El sent Kal-El to Earth. Then I think we're going to get into Act 1. And I think Act 1 is basically going to be Superman being shown as a kid, say 10 to 12 years old, maybe 10 to 13. And he's going to be going to school, and he's going to be working on the farm, and he's going to be talking with Lana Lang, maybe, young Lana Lang. We're going to see him doing all of his Smallville things. Then he's going to be on the bus. The bus is going to careen off the road, smash into the raging river, and then Clark is going to save all the kids on the school bus and thus expose himself because he's used his powers. This is going to bring the story to a point where Jonathan has to finally sit down with him in a man-to-man conversation and really explain to Clark who he is and possibly where he's from. All Jonathan really knows for sure, I think, is that he's not from Earth. He's from some planet, possibly even another galaxy, from an outer space. And Clark is going to have to come to terms with his alien heritage. And I don't think he actually does in the first act. I think this is a notion, that an idea, him being alien, that really haunts him. And so Act 1 culminates with him leaving Smallville, probably at around the age of 18, and trying to find himself. And then we'll see him wandering. We've seen him, Act 2 will open with him hitchhiking, possibly toward Alaska, the Arctic. Apparently he's working on an oil rig, maybe. He's doing some deep-sea fishing. Basically a man going on a quest for his identity, a quest for his meaning. Let me move this here. I think Act 2 is going to culminate with him embracing, to a certain degree, his powers and coming to terms with his origins. I think in the Fortress of Solitude, which is also going to be a part of Act 2, he's going to learn from his father, Jor-El, all about his alien heritage. He's going to learn what the symbols stand for. He's going to learn what his race, the Kryptonians, were all about. Basically a race of scientists, super scientists, space explorers and such. I think he's going to come to respect his alien heritage and embrace it. And then he's going to have to decide whether or not he's going to expose himself to the greater world. Now his father, Jonathan Kent, doesn't think the world's ready to accept that. And I think what we're going to find out toward the end of Act 2 is that, well, Jonathan was right, that the world, once they learn who Clark is, possibly through him turning himself in to the military authorities, letting them handcuff him, offering to give an interview to Lois Lane from the Daily Planet, telling everybody who he is. I think after it's all said and done, that Earth is going to reject him collectively and ask him respectfully to leave, to fly off into space and find another homeland. And I think Clark is going to honor that with a heavy heart. And then just as he's about to go, Act 3 will begin, which will be the invasion of the other Kryptonians in the form of General Zod and his cohort, his minions. And of course, Superman won't abandon us. He will fight Zod off. He will essentially save the day, and thereby prove to planet Earth that he is one of us. He is on our side, and that if we will have him, he will stay. And I think at the end, as the credits roll, the world will have embraced him, and we will have effectively been set up for a second Superman movie. And I think we're going to get some hints of Lex Luthor. Luthor is not going to be the villain in this movie, although I think we're going to get little Easter eggs. Luthor Corps, we've seen this, the big building with, Luthor Corps on it, or Luthor Corp. And so we may even see a cameo of Lex, I'm not sure. But by the end of the movie, Superman will have been accepted by Earth and will have, in effect, been one of us. So that's my basic bare bones notion of how the plot's going to unfold. So I'll be there opening night to find out. Hope you are too, and enjoy Man of Steel.